Bob? Yeah, some residents of the town have expressed some concerns about, what happened in the Bronx, and they want to know, is town residents who live in apartments protected? And is there any action steps that the town could take that we have not taken in the past that could reduce the possibility of a tragedy happening in Greenberg?
Pull it down a little bit. The mic towards you. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, there we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul. Well, the residents are protected. Usually on the doors, on the apartments, there are self-closing doors. This was the unfortunate part in the fire in the city that allowed the smoke and everything for the whole building to go up. We have that on every one, but what we're thinking about is getting in contact with each resident so they can let us know if their door is a self-closer, is it working or not? And I think that's probably more of the question than anything else. Yes, they're supposed to be there and they're supposed to work. We're gonna have to find out if they do.
And
Are these all residents or just residents of certain high rises?
On the apartments, would be your multifamily apartments.
Every
Like on East Hartsdale, over here on Manhattan, Oak Street.
Mhm.
So,
private residences as well as housing authority residences.
There are ones that are multifamily, that could be classed a multifamily. That would be the same rule would go in effect on that. Of course, not in regular residential level.
Right.
So you're going to reach out to all the apartment dwellers and we could have inspections, and could we reach out immediately to, say, the property managers? Maybe even have a meeting with the property managers. And I was sort of thinking earlier today, wondering if we should reach out to the three fire chiefs and ask the fire chiefs to assist in, in making sure that our residents are protected.
Sure, we could do that. Definitely could, because a lot of them, like in Hartsdale, along East Hartsdale and everything, who does the yearly fire inspections is the fire department. But let me add there also that even on these apartment, I think there's a self-closing on the stairwells. Of course, and that's a fire rated assembly there.
And that's by state law, right?
By state law, right. So, we buy and enforce all state law on the fire code. And then, and also, we're fortunate because we have a lot of sprinkler in the town, where a lot of areas don't. We have residential, which most of the state does not have. And even on the commercial, I mean, we required it when the state was only saying it was 3 floors or above. So we're kind of quite protected that way. And we do inspections and we do flow tests to make sure everything's working properly.
Does New York City law have anything that we don't have? Could we beef up our laws to provide extra protection?
Well, one of the problems in New York City, all right, is they have what's known as self-inspection on a lot of things. And in my opinion, I think that creates a lot of problems. Where with us, you have to have a certified building inspector or a fire inspector do the inspection. It isn't that we trust somebody to do the inspection, we don't. In New York City, they don't, and that's why it creates a lot of problems.
What's self-inspection?
Self-inspection is that you're saying, well, I'm going to self-inspect my own work, right, and say that it's done by the code. No one looks at it. It leaves a lot of, a lot of leeway there for people not to do the right thing, to be quite honest.
What are some of the things, if somebody lives in an apartment and they're nervous and they haven't heard from, say, your department or their super or somebody from the building department, what are some of the things that people could look at themselves that could
All right.
reassure them.
The easiest thing, like we're talking about the doors now, all right? So the door on the front door on your apartment, when you open it, let it go, does it self-close? Because generally there's a spring in there that makes it self-close. You know, so that if a fire does happen within that apartment, it doesn't spread rapidly to the other ones. Right? So they could check just by opening the door. Right now, if it doesn't, they could contact us. We could contact the owner of the building or the maintenance people to make sure that it is fixed.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, one of the big concerns I've heard over the years, particularly in weather like this, is many people in single-family homes have attics, and they finished off those attics, and people are actually living and sleeping up there, and they have heaters. And some of the older homes are not sprinklered. I think they're required to be sprinklered now. And that's something that people should really be concerned about with these heaters, particularly in attics, because there's no sprinkler.
Yeah,
And if there's a fire, I've been told that's a lot of times the places where the fatalities occur. So
Right.
that's something, Paul, I think people really need to be concerned about, particularly when the weather is like this. The heaters that they're using and making sure that they have protection.
In
Well,
general, there's a problem with illegal apartments because they haven't been inspected.
yeah.
That's what happened in New York City when the when the water came in,
Right.
there was only one way out. They
Right.
didn't have windows we require egress windows in a basement if
Right.
it's for livable space.
Right.
In general, when you do things without permits, you're going to run yourself into potentially a life-threatening situation. And
Right.
attics, of course, is one of them. Basements are another for different reasons. New York City has an extremely strict fire code, and they get to set whatever they want. We don't have that luxury. If we want to change our code, we have to ask the state for permission. We follow the state code in Westchester and other counties, I assume, right?
That's
New
true.
York City is an entity unto itself. For
Yes.
example, any apartment that has three or more, any building that has three or more apartments has to have self-closing fire doors. That's a strict standard, 3 apartments. What Bob was talking about is having the fire doors on each of the stairway doors. No fire should get to another floor as quickly as it did in New York City. It just means it's a failure even of the stairway doors. And so, there are a lot of issues, not just the heater being used inside the apartment, but then the self-closer. What the residents should look for is, one is, do you have a fire-rated door on your apartment, right? That door should really protect you for at least 1 hour, preferably 2 hours in a fire, so that the firefighters have time to get to you. So check to see if it's a fire-rated door. Did you have a fire-rated door and you didn't like the way it looked, and you put a different door on there that's not fire-rated? Well, that's not good. May look good, but it's not going to protect you. One of the things you could do is look at the jamb side of the door and see whether or not it has a tag on it. If the tag on it is probably going to tell you how long it's fire rated for. If it's been around for a while, it's probably painted over, but so feel for a bump, and you won't know how good of a fire rating it is, but at least you'll know that there was a tag there at some point that it's probably a fire rated door. And get a self-closer. They're not expensive. Get a self-closer to close the door yourself. I was speaking to somebody on East Hartsdale Avenue this afternoon, and she said that she got locked out with her self-closer, but getting locked out, as she said, and having to call the super is a lot better than dying. And so, we need to make sure that they work. And as we were emailing back and forth today among the board, I think we should get into a habit of, when you change your batteries at daylight saving time, changing the clocks forward or back, also take a look at your self-closer, and certainly don't paint the self-closing device, because that's going to defeat its effectiveness.
The other question that, the other suggestion I had was maybe the fire departments and the building departments could jointly sponsor a Zoom information meeting, and we could notify tenants who live in the various apartments. And we could just give people tips, tell them what they could do, what they should reach out to their maintenance people and supers to do. And then we could also explain what both the fire departments and the town are doing. So this way, it's really, what we really want to do is everybody has to do their own, part. People have to check to make sure that these self-closing doors work. The building department and the fire departments could help with inspections, but if people notice that it's broken in the middle of the year or whatever, when we don't have the building department, then they should, report it quickly. So if we all work together, we could reduce the possibility of a tragedy happening in our town. And I think, people could be reassured, I think that an information meeting would be helpful. Even, what, most people probably have no clue what to do if their smoke detectors aren't working, or if the sprinklers aren't working. So maybe we could just provide some education.
Bob, you were saying that we're very strict about our sprinklers, that if the sprinklers go off, they have to set off the alarm.
Yes, that is part is that 903.4.2 of your fire code. Some towns don't enforce that. We enforce it. Which if there's flow, the fire alarm must get off to notify people so they can vacate. Because if you didn't have that, let's say the apartment next to you caught on fire, you wouldn't know about it. You'd be going about your business and this thing could be burning, right? This way here with the fire alarm, it notifies everybody, they vacate. And then of course it goes to a central service too, that notifies the fire department right away, right? So that you have the fire services come there to address the fire immediately. And then we stop it. We nip it in the bud so it doesn't spread.
Has the building department in the past found any problems with these doors, or have we issued violations for sprinklers or sprinkler for buildings that haven't been in compliance? With
Yeah, we
with
have,
issues?
right? But not so much the doors. I gotta tell you, no, not on the doors. But we have for sprinkler, we have indeed for fire alarms that don't work. Right? So we're very much up, we require that they have to work. Now, if they don't, they have to do in a fire watch automatically. And a fire watch isn't just that an employee, when he feels like he goes, looks at it, he has a route that he has to do every so often. He has to keep a log on that also, on what he's looked at. All right, so there's records, so we know that he's doing his job. So, and a lot of times it's expensive for them to do that. So it's much easier to have your alarms and your sprinkler working.
Thank you.